I'm the only president that ever took a cognitive test. I took it 3 times. It's actually a very hard test for a lot of people.
Hi, my name is Jack Hobbs. I am a senior news reporter for the Mirror US, and today I will be taking the cognitive exam that President Donald Trump takes. It's 2 parts. The first part is kind of an assessment of my overall health mentally. It's broken down into several different groups. First one is demographics, followed by physical health, my emotional well-being, diet, exercise, cognitive and social engagement, as well as my health history. The next part is more of a memory-based test. So the first question I have on here is, do I have any vision problems? And that would be a no. Contrary to belief, these glasses are just blue light because I'm staring at a screen for 8 hours a day. So that's why I wear them. The second one is if I have any hearing problems, and I do not. Next is, do I smoke or have I smoked in the past? I have never smoked. Do I have any head injuries? I do not. Have I been exposed to high air pollution over a longer period of time because I work in a city or I live there? I would say I was exposed to about average air pollution because I do live and work in New York City. Has my doctor or any other health care provider ever told you I have hypertension? I do not. Same thing with diabetes, I do not. And then for the very last one on the health or physical health side is, have I been told I have high blood cholesterol? And that would be a no. So the next section is my emotional well-being. I have never been diagnosed with depression. I get about 7 or 8 hours of sleep, so the usual. How would I rate the quality of my sleep? I would say, okay, I do wake up tired occasionally. And am I worried about my brain health? I mean, I think because I'm taking this, I'm a little bit concerned, especially, sometimes my nose is in my phone 24/7. So yeah, I am a little worried about to see what would happen. Onto my diet. Not to go too much into information, but I will say this is probably not my strongest suit. I am lacking in a few certain questions, especially how many. I don't eat a lot of fruit. I probably should. I do think I eat too much meat. I would say for prepackaged stuff, I do eat more than probably recommended. But they are asking me in a typical week, how often do I drink alcohol? And I really would say I only drink 1 to 3 times a month, if that, maybe even less. All right, exercise. In a typical week, how many times do you have any moderate or vigorous aerobic exercises? I would say 1 or 2 a week. And in the past week, how many times do you do strength exercises as a weightlifting or body at weight exercise? I would definitely say more than 3 times a week. Been trying to go to the gym a lot more. Cognitive and social engagement. It's asking me how many times have I read or think about playing games such as crossword puzzle or board games. 7+ times. I read in the morning, I read at night, and I read when I get home. In a typical week, how many days do you socialize with friends or family? I would say 4 to 6. I go on tons of walks with my friends. We all live near each other, so we're constantly hanging out. And it's asking me how long I work, so I do work full time. How much time I spend volunteering? None. I really should do better. And no, the last question was, do you live alone? And no, I do not. So the last section is health history, and it's kind of just asking general questions about, how you feel about your overall health. I would say I'm pretty good. How often do you feel stressed? I will say often. I do work in a very fast-paced job, so it is always just like making sure everything's perfect and getting stories out there in time. Do I have a family history of dementia or Alzheimer's? I don't quite know. I know my uncle did pass away from dementia, but I think that was kind of just him. I've never really heard of anyone else in my family passing away from that. So now I'm going to start the self-assessment of my memory. The test is about, according to the site, at least 5 minutes long. So let's get started.
Continue to drag and drop items in the grid below in any order. Make sure to remember the order.
So right now they're asking me to put a bunch of animals in a specific order, but want me to remember which order that I put them in.
Please remember the order of the objects in the grid. Drag and drop each item according to the sequence in the grid below. Place the shapes in the grid below in the same order as the items you placed earlier.
So now it's going back to the first question to ask me which ones I put in the correct order.
Drag and drop items in the grid below in any order. Make sure to remember the order.
So kind of the same thing now, but with a different set of objects.
Please remember the order of the objects in the grid. Drag and drop each item according to the sequence in the grid below. Place the shapes in the grid below in the same order as the items you placed earlier. Drag and drop items in the grid below in any order. Make sure to remember the order.
So kind of like the last couple things, it's the same 5 boxes, but with different shapes. And obviously they're asking me to create a pattern that I'm going to have to eventually recall.
Please remember the order of the objects in the grid. Drag and drop each item according to the sequence in the grid below. Place the shapes in the grid below in the same order as the items you placed earlier.
Well, shockingly, it asked me to repeat the test. Yes, it was said apparently my performance is considered below what they expected for someone of my age, which is terrifying. But yeah, so that's good to know that I need to work on my memory. So one of my biggest takeaways from this was Trump was right. It was very hard. I'm also not a great test taker, so I think that also played into it, but it's kind of unnerving to see that result being like, you should probably take this again. Especially, being 30 and being, just knowing that information. It's not the greatest thing I wanted to experience from this. I was really hoping it was gonna be like, your memory's incredible. But I mean, now, spend more time, working on these things to help keep my memory going. Not to say that I will have dementia or anything, but I really do. It is kind of a shock that it was so low than what I expected. So I took the test a second time and I got a slightly higher score, not by much. It was a 36 this time. So, we love a good 20-point increase, and I think this time it was kind of knowing what to expect, and I kind of tried to develop a system of patterns and trying to figure out, put certain things that sounded the same together. But all in all, I do understand why Trump has said it is difficult, because it is, especially, you're being asked to, put animals in a certain order, then all of a sudden you're putting colors and animals in a certain order, then you're back to the first question. So I do understand how that would slip a few people up. So it's been 2 days since I took the cognitive test, and I wasn't feeling great about my score, so I decided to take it again. And I got a much higher score. I got 90 out of 100, which is great. Kind of settled some unease in me. But yeah, it really just kind of went with my whole inclination that, one, I don't test well. I never have. And then 2, there was a lot of distractions in the room. I was filming myself, and it was just that pressure of taking the test while on camera. But glad to know that I passed.